you know this pirate?
Only by name.
Find Sparrow for me and relay him a message from Capitan Salazar. Death will go straight through him, and also my pointy sword will go straight through him. Capitan Salazar was denied by Jack Sparrow. I want his love. I want his love. Do you know what has happened to me? Do you know what it does to you?
What are you referring to?
Do you know what it does to you? Hydrogen cyanide? Will you say that to him? Tell him, Capitan Salazar. Dead men tell no tales.
Oh no! That's the wrong title. This movie's called Salazar's Revenge. Did you not get the memo?
Be quiet. It is called Dead Men Tell No Tales, and I am in command of its title. Salazar's Revenge. Dead Men Tell No Tales.
I'm surprised you don't want it to be called after yourself. Clearly, you don't value yourself very much.
Shut up. The great Capitan Salazar is a dead man. Therefore, it is logical to call this film Dead Men Tell No Tales. Now, avast! Henry!
Father, please!
Go away. There is no place on the Dutchman for you.
But I know a way to break your curse.
Can't you see? I'm cursed to this ship.
That's what I'm saying. I can break your curse. I know of a treasure that's powerful, that can break your curse.
Go.
It will free you from the Dutchman.
Henry, shut up.
But it's true. The Trident of Poseidon can break your curse.
So you're telling me that a fucking fork can break my curse? A fucking piece of cutlery? You are a shameful son. Get out of my sight.
But no. Please, I want you back. Please, I found you.
It's just a tale, you wretched boy.
Like the tales of you and Captain Jack Sparrow.
You stay away from Jack. He's a drunken wastrel.
I know about you and Jack.
What?
The real reason why I came to this ship is because I know about you and Jack.
How you cheated on my mother. You're confused, boy.
Jack, stop. Why is the rum gone?
You're a fool.
You cursed me aboard the Dutchman. I have a family. I have a son. Why did you make me stab the heart of Davy Jones? I've already got a ship, mate. And I am Captain Jack Sparrow. What is this? Payback? No. Let's just say it's a matter of leverage. Hello everybody and welcome at long last to my review of Pirates of the Caribbean Salazar's Revenge, or Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, depending where you're from. So, Pirates of the Caribbean 5, I'm going to call it Salazar's Revenge because I'm in the UK. So, Salazar's Revenge. It has been so long since the previous film. It has been 6 years since On Stranger Tides. 6 fucking years. Was it worth the wait? Let's find out. So, the basic plot of Salazar's Revenge, or Dead Men Tell No Tales, is that it basically centres around young Henry Turner, who is the son of Will and Elizabeth Turner. He wants to break free his father's curse, because as we know, Will Turner is now the captain of the Flying Dutchman, and he is doomed to only step on land once every 10 years. and he wants his father to be free. And so he has to go in search of the Trident of Poseidon, which is a mystical object that, if destroyed, can break all curses, can lift all curses of the sea. There's also a few other people looking for it. Captain Salazar is looking for it because he wants to get revenge on Jack Sparrow, who basically was responsible for his curse/death, if you like. And also Barbossa wants it for some reason. I can't exactly remember why. And also this young girl named Keira is searching for it. She is also searching for it. So she sort of teams up with Henry, and Jack Sparrow is kind of dragged into all of this as well. So, you know, it's a usual Pirates thing, and then there's a big sort of adventure quest thing, and that's really the best I can explain the plot. It gets a little bit convoluted in places. So, Pirates of the Caribbean, Salazar's Revenge. This is a pretty damn good movie. It was definitely worth the 6-year wait, I would say so. As a fan of these films, I am pleased to say that this film was definitely worth the wait. Is it perfect? No, it's not. I'm a bit disheartened by the reviews, really. The reviews don't seem to be giving much attention to it, which is a shame in one way, but oh well. This is the 5th movie in the franchise. And how does it fare? Well, I really like the story. I think the story's good, even though it does get a little bit convoluted in places. There's too many people going after this Trident of Poseidon, and it gets a bit confusing as to sort of who wants it for what reason. Like, I lost why Barbossa was even in the film until the very sort of mid-stage of the movie, when a certain twist comes to mind. There will be spoilers in this review, full spoilers, so please go away if you haven't seen it in the movie now, because this is a new release. I'll have a warning at the beginning of this review. And yeah, so the story's interesting. It's pretty much a classic case of pirates. They have to go after an object for whatever reason. And there's a big adventure. I think what helps is that this is the shortest movie of the series thus far. It is 129 minutes, 2 hours, 9 minutes, which is very short by pirate standards. And it does feel short, and it does feel very tight and compact. And I think that's what's good about it. It just flows. You can just have fun with it. It's not meant to be the biggest epic in the world, but I mean it is. It has its moments of like the classic pirates action music. All of the fun spectacle that you got in the first 4 movies is present here. So I was happy with that. The performances. Johnny Depp, as much as I like Jack Sparrow as a character, it is starting to wear a little bit thin now. This is the 5th movie, and I think it's probably time for a new character to take the lead. I mean, he is funny in this movie. He has a couple of laughs, but he's not nearly as funny as he is in the earlier films. I do think it's time for him to hang up the hat and the pistol and let someone else take the lead. But then again, that might change the whole dynamic of the series. I don't know, but I think it'd be nice to give him less to do, because in this film, he's just kind of there. Like, he's there with the crew. He's there because he has to be. It's hard to imagine a Pirates of the Caribbean film without Johnny Depp now. And I mean, I think his performance is okay in this movie. It's good enough, but it's not anything on the level of what he did in the first one or even in the second one for me. But you know, he does his best. Javier Bardem as Captain Salazar. Whoa, okay. Javier Bardem is known for playing villains, and he does a pretty damn good job with this movie. Salazar, he's just creepy. I mean, the way he looks, the visual effects in this movie are just amazing. It is amazing to look at. The effects have come a long way since the first film, which is 14 years ago now, I think. 14 years ago. It's really quite amazing what they achieved with the effects of this movie, and Javier Bardem as Salazar looks really creepy. Although the general backstory as to, you know, why he's seeking revenge, there's not really much to it. Basically, he's you know, Jack Sparrow caused his sort of death/curse, so he's out to get him. He's basically out to kill him. There's not much more to it than that, to be honest. So he's a bit of a generic villain in that sense. There's not any great mystery surrounding him. He's a physical he's a physical being. He looks quite scary, and he's just kind of there, really. So they could have fleshed him out a little bit more, but you know, he's fine. It's a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. You know, I'm looking for artsy fartsy. I'm not looking for the next avant-garde artsy fartsy, you know, masterpiece. This is just meant to be a fun romp, and it is a fun romp. Other characters. Geoffrey Rush returns as Captain Barbossa. I like him in this movie. There's not really a major reason as to why Barbossa's in the film until the latter stage. I mean, we see him at the beginning. He's on the Queen Anne's Revenge, enjoying his time as the captain. He owns 10 ships now. He's pretty much in command of the sea. And then, you know, he comes across the truth. This is a spoiler as well, so I did put a warning about spoilers earlier, so I'm going to spoil this movie. When we discover he is the father of Keira, that was something I didn't expect, and it almost didn't really feel right at first. I've watched this movie twice now because I wanted to get a perspective of my opinion. The first time I watched it, wasn't quite sure how I fared. I watched it once in 3D and once in 2D, and watching it again today, it's warmed to me now, that whole plot. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't have done it because I don't think it fits his character. But they handled it really well. And, I mean, it's not really developed very much. They don't really mention too much about sort of the backstory behind it. They just say, oh, you know, he's her dad and he gave her up as an orphan because he wanted to be a pirate, obviously. So he just decided to just give her up. And, you know, because he has a diary that he gave to her, and obviously she doesn't know he's his father, and he's her father, till the very end. And the climax is really quite beautifully done when he sacrifices himself for her. The look of shock on her face is enough to go, oh my god, wow, she doesn't expect that. So that was done really nicely. And Geoffrey Rush gives a nice, I guess you could say, final performance as Barbossa. I mean, personally, I'd rather they have not killed him off again, because he's already died once in this series. So to have him die for a second time is a little bit, you know, repetitive of the first one. But obviously, in this one, he's a good guy, and he's not a bad guy, which he was in the first one. But his death definitely hit home. It was sad to see him go, but I thought, okay, yeah, maybe Barbossa's time with the series is done, but I don't think I would have killed him off, personally. I would have just had him, as suggested by the witch, have him retire to the countryside. That would have been a nice exit for Barbossa, but yeah, because having him die again just feels like a rehash. But you know what, it's done well enough. I'll go with it. And yeah, speaking of Keira, the new characters are interesting. Keira being one of them. Keira Smith, played by Keira Scodalario. Never heard of her before, but she's pretty good. I mean, people who've reviewed this movie so far have basically called her an Elizabeth ripoff. I wouldn't necessarily say that. She's definitely in a similar role to what Elizabeth had in the first 3 movies, to be a love interest. But, you know, there's a bit more character to her. She's not a damsel in distress. She's quite intelligent. She's an astronomer. She's a horologist. So she has a purpose. I mean, I just didn't like that they all kept calling her a witch. That just got a bit tiring after a while. They didn't need to do that so much. But she gives a great performance, and it'd be interesting to see her continue in her acting career. I'll look out for her in future films. And again, you know, the emotional shock of Barbossa being her father she acted that really well. Brenton Thwaites as Henry Turner. Yes, he's all right. I don't think he's anything amazing. I don't think he's from England. I think he's from Australia or somewhere. I watched an interview with him. He has a funny accent in this movie. He tries to do a British accent, and it's really slippy. It really is. But he played the character okay, I guess. He was all right, but he needed to work on his accent. And I thought the romance between the two of them was really just forced. It didn't go anywhere. I mean, it was nice. I mean, it was better than the romance on Stranger Tides. But was it necessary? Probably not. But you know, it was okay. It was done well enough, but it wasn't really developed. So again, they needed to develop the romance a bit more. You have some of the original crew, like Kevin McNally as Gibbs. You have Marty return, the little small guy who was in the first 3 movies. He's back. It's nice to see him back. And, you know, beyond that, the characters are that's it, really. I mean, you have Will Turner. Orlando Bloom makes a sort of a cameo appearance as Will Turner. He appears in 2 scenes in this movie, and it's nice to see him back very briefly. There's also a really good scene with Will and Henry at the very beginning of the movie, which I thought was a lovely scene. Really, really powerful scene. When he goes on to the Flying Dutchman, and he basically tells him, he says, "I can break your curse, I can find the trident of Poseidon." And he says, "No, Henry, go away. It's not your problem. You know, just go back to your mother, and forget about it." And it's really powerful. It's really touching. You could see the boy's really craving for his father, but yeah, it would have been nice to include Bootstrap Bill in this, but that's just a minor thing. As well as Keira Knightley making a cameo appearance at the very end. So that was good. It was nice that this movie feels like a nice wrap up. In one sense, it's a wrap up to the first 3 movies. In that sense, another wrap up to the first 3 movies, which I like. It doesn't really have anything to do with On Stranger Tides, other than that Scrum, who was in that film, is in this film. But there we go. It feels conclusive, yet also the door is left open for number 6, which it probably will happen. I mean, I don't count on this being the last movie. I mean, if it makes money, then they make more movies. So I wouldn't rule out there being a Pirates 6. I would imagine. I mean, I would hope that this is it, because the story feels concluded, and it feels like this is a nice ending. But yeah, the door is left open. And it's also nice to see the 2 guards from the first one come back, Murtaugh and Mulroy. They're part of Barbossa's crew now. I don't know how they are, because they weren't in the 4th one. They just sort of appeared out of nowhere. But it was nice to have them there, because, you know, it's sort of like a nice callback to the first one as well, which is nice. And this movie, basically, like on Stranger Tides, it goes back to basics. Although I say that, but then there's, like, as I said, there's too many people going after this trident of Poseidon. It becomes a bit convoluted for their reasons why, but the general sense of adventure, it doesn't try to be as ambitious as Dead Man's Chest or At World's End, and it's thankfully not as long as those 2 either. I mean, although Dead Man's Chest, I love that film anyway, so I don't mind that one's long, but it definitely doesn't sag as much as At World's End. It goes really quickly, and it flies by. The action is incredible. There's a great scene in the beginning when they rob a bank, literally. There's also a funny guillotine scene where Jack is nearly, his head is nearly, decapitated from him, or removed from him by guillotine. That's a fun scene. There's a great sea battle as well when Salazar and Jack have a bit of a fight. That's good. And then the climax down in the sea where they find the trident is really entertaining, and obviously the emotional moment of Barbossa's death is really, really, really done well. I mean, there are a couple of slower moments on the ship, but I don't mind that too much. The film doesn't drag for me whatsoever. There was also this weird character, this sort of witch woman, who Barbossa goes to speak to. She's just kind of there. I don't get why she's in the movie, and I don't understand how the hell she got his compass. Jack just left his compass there, and, you know, how did she get the compass? That didn't make sense to me. I mean, that aside, this movie's a ton of fun. It's pretty much classic, what you'd expect from Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't think it's the best one of the series, but it's a good one. It's a damn good one. And the music is really good. Even though most of it is kind of rehashed from some of the other films, like the main themes, like the da 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 da, and then obviously the end credits theme, the da 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 da, and there's a nice theme that they rehashed from At World's End as well, the da 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 da. Yeah, that was nice. The music was really nice, and Salazar's theme was creepy. And there's a great scene when he's telling the story of the backstory of how Jack basically cursed him, and we see a CGI 20-year-old Johnny Depp which was very, very well done. Yeah, I mean, it was a bit strange, obviously, and then they changed the pitch of his voice, but we all saw it in the trailer, so we knew it was coming. It's the perfect length, to just over 2 hours. It flies by, and it's so much fun. The comedy is a bit hit and miss. It can be funny, but then it can also not be very funny. Johnny Depp, on second viewing, I appreciated his performance a lot more, and it definitely felt like he kind of overplayed it a little bit with the drunk sort of persona. It's wearing a bit thin now. But yeah, also the movie's ending is really nice. It wraps things up pretty nicely for the Turners, at least. I mean, I thought Will and Elizabeth's story was pretty much done in the third one, so I was a bit surprised that they were coming back for this one. But they're not really in it. They're only in like 5 minutes of it, if that. But it's nice that their son, Henry, he was a good character, even though he wasn't played particularly brilliantly. But it was nice that that arc is now finished. That's done. If they ever go back to it again, I'm gonna flip. But it was nice. I mean, it was a great film. It was great fun. It was nice to see it back, actually, because it'd been so long since On Stranger Tides. It makes me think that On Stranger Tides, you could just skip that one, because it doesn't really add anything to the overall saga. I mean, it's a good film, don't get me wrong, but I mean, obviously, you could watch Outworld's End and then watch Salazar's Revenge straight away, and it would make perfect sense. Also, speaking of which, the post-credits scene is very good, very interesting, and it leaves a possible door open for number 6. The Return of Davy Jones. Ooh. Yes, Davy Jones is back, which is very, very unexpected. I did not see that coming whatsoever. Basically, the scene is that Will and Elizabeth are in bed, and Will has like a nightmare about Davy Jones. You see his shadow, his sort of silhouette coming in, and then you see the crab claw of Davy Jones, and then he wakes up, and then him and Elizabeth go back to bed, and then underneath the bed there are some like little barnacles. So Davy Jones looks like he's coming back. If they do Pirate 6, they're obviously thinking about bringing Davy Jones back, so that'd be interesting. I mean, it makes sense if the Trident was destroyed and the curses were all lifted. There's a nice sense of finality with this movie, yet there is also a nice sense of closure. For me, the problems are that the comedy doesn't really hit home as much as they want it to. Johnny Depp's performance is a bit, on and off. I think that also just the script needed a bit more refining. Like, there's too many people going after this Trident of Poseidon. Like, Salazar wants it to, lift his curse. Henry wants it to lift his father's curse. And Barbossa wants it for what reason? We don't know. But the funniest scene in the film was probably Jack's wedding scene, which is just great. I think it's a great movie, and I think it's a lot of fun. I had a lot more fun with it on second viewing. All of the sort of sciencey, wine-y stuff, all the science mumbo-jumbo, didn't really care about that. But yeah, I'd say Salazar's Revenge is a great movie, and I would recommend it if you're a Pirates fan, or Dead Men Tell No Tales, as it's called in the US. There were a couple of times when there were some obvious green screen shots. Come on, guys. And the direction by... Who directed this movie? Joachim and Espen Sandberg. 2 directors. Actually, I believe... Oh, yeah, they're Norwegian, aren't they? Yeah, they're Norwegian directors. You can tell the direction's very different. And it works. I think it really works. I think they've done a great job here. It's not the best Pirates movie ever. But it's definitely a lot of fun. And I'm going to rate Salazar's Revenge an 8 out of 10. Yeah, and the design for the movie is great as well. It's beautifully designed, and it's much more interesting to look at than On Stranger Tides. I mean, On Stranger Tides was still good, but that one's gone down a little bit for me. That one had a couple of slow moments. It just wasn't as vigorous as this one. This one had a vigorous pace, so it was nice. It was short. So that's it, guys. That's my reviews of all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies thus far. What do you think of Salazar's Revenge or Dead Men Tell No Tales? Please put your comments down below. Let me know. And tune in for my Pirates of the Caribbean ranking, where I rank all 5 movies of the Pirates of the Caribbean saga. So, until then, guys, thank you all for watching. And as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.